And here we see the dog in its natural habitat, a video game. When one encounters such a creature, it is customary to approach the majestic hound to ascertain if a prompt may appear. If such is the case, one should then press the assigned button to give the dog a pet. One may also vocalize that it is a good boy if one so desires. Once the task is accomplished, one should then continue onwards in whatever adventure awaits them in the magical world of video games. What could be simpler than petting a dog, right? Lots of things. Being able to pet a dog in a video game is kind of a built-in expectation these days in a way that it wasn't 10 years ago. It might seem like a strange thing to focus on in the grand scheme of video games, but petting the dog sits at the intersection of a bunch of weird and overlapping issues. Petting dogs in games is not new. The first pettable dog in a game that I can find reference to is the shopkeeper's dog in King's Quest III from 1986. It's a pretty natural thing to add to a game because it's accurate to real life. What's the first thing people do when they see a dog? They pet it. Games have been adding animations like this for decades because game designers like animals, and petting animals is a very human thing to do. There's no mechanical reason to add this to a game unless you're doing some sort of dog loyalty mechanic, but most of the games that have a pettable dog do not include any sort of mechanical reward for petting the dog. But I also think there is more to this than a cute novelty. I think there are sincere artistic reasons why a lot of dark, gritty action games in particular let you pet the dog. Arthur Morgan is a gruff, hard-living man with loose morals and a quick trigger finger. But he loves his horse. Your horse is your most important partner through the entire game. You can brush it, you can feed it, but you can also just reach out and give it a pet sometimes. It's a very humanizing detail of Arthur's character. He may be a bad man, but he's kind to animals. He may be a hunter, but he and nature have a mutual respect in a way that he doesn't for a lot of people. Raton Hungedon has a hard life. His people are facing extinction, his enemies surround him, and his allies are temporary at best. He spends most of Assassin's Creed 3 yelling, but every time he sees a dog, he gives it a little pet. He doesn't play with it or give it a big scratch, just a gentle little pat on the head. It's a very expressive animation, almost nervous. Despite the violence of his life, he's a gentle soul. He doesn't want to rile up the dog or spend much time with it, he just wants to reach out and show it a little affection in uncaring worlds. There's a cat in Hotel Krat. It doesn't like you very much because you're a puppet lacking in humanity. But as the game progresses, as Pinocchio becomes a real boy, the cat warms up to you. It allows itself to be pet and eventually to be picked up and held. As a machine, your intentions are unknowable. The cat is wary. But as a human, the cat can sense your intentions, your warmth, and it comes to accept your presence. Not every pettable animal has this level of artistic intention, but meaning in art derives from wherever you look for it. Sometimes all it says about a character is that they like their dog, and sometimes that's all it needs to be. But more often than not, petting a dog is a symbol of sincerity. It's an action without guile or expectation. It's just a little gesture of kindness or joy, which is very useful shorthand for humanizing a character. The pettable dog movement is often attributed to the wildly successful Twitter account Can You Pet the Dog, which is an account entirely dedicated to cataloguing games in which you can or cannot pet the dog. It currently has just shy of 500,000 followers. What a nice, uncontroversial thing. Right? Of course not. This is the internet, baby. Everything's controversial. Tristan Cooper, or the lore librarian if you're cool, the guy who runs Can You Pet the Dog, originally started the account in response to the unpettable dogs in Tom Clancy's The Division 2. The game is set in a war-torn, virus-decimated Washington DC and features stray dogs as an environmental detail, which you're supposed to feel sympathy for, but the game provides no way to actually help them, it's just set dressing. This annoyed Tristan, so he started cataloguing games where you could and could not pet dogs. And for a time, it was just a little novelty account. Until about a year after the first tweet, when The Division 2 added the Warlords of New York expansion, which included a little German Shepherd puppy that you could pet to your heart's content. In fact, one of the safe houses in the new region is an animal shelter. Is Can You Pet the Dog responsible for this update? It's impossible to know for sure. It was certainly the loudest voice complaining about the dogs, but not the only one. But whether the account is fully responsible for the change or not, it represents a shift in the messaging of the account and the mechanic. Petting the dog in Warlords of New York is not an Easter egg or a cute little extra thing. It's a selling point. There's a dog in the game now that exists for no other reason than being pettable. And there was news articles about this, reviews mentioned it, and of course, Can You Pet the Dog tweeted about it to their growing list of followers. The Warlords of New York dog represents this cultural shift perfectly. Petting the dog is no longer a treat, it's a demand. Can You Pet the Dog gets review copies of games. It has done for a few years now. If you don't know, review copies are just when the developer sends a copy of the game for free to a reviewer with the hope that they will review it. And ideally, with that act of kindness, make it a good review. And I would! I'm telling you right now that I will sell my integrity for a free video game, but no one has ever sent me one. But that's a bit odd, isn't it? Because Can You Pet the Dog is not a reviewer. They don't review the game or tell you anything about its quality. The only thing it tells you is if you can pet the dog or not. But Ubisoft clearly thinks that's valuable enough to send them a copy of Assassin's Creed Shadows for a review. At some point, Can You Pet the Dog transitioned from a cute novelty to a marketing opportunity. It's not uncommon at all for indie developers to tweet Can You Pet the Dog with the hope of getting some other 500,000 followers interested in their game. The developers of the game, Lair of the Clockwork God, specifically put in a dog to the game to troll Can You Pet the Dog. They made the dog super hard and convoluted to pet with the hope that Can You Pet the Dog would falsely tweet that you can't pet the dog only to act all outraged and say actually you can pet the dog. It didn't work. Or, I guess it still technically did, because here I am talking about it 5 years later. The account is having a real tangible impact on the games industry at large. I mean, that impact is adding more pettable dogs, so it's not really a problem. Is it? In early 2023, the official Harry Potter Twitter account tagged Can You Pet the Dog to show off that you could pet the cat in Hogwarts Legacy. Tristan was not impressed. Like many people, like myself, Tristan had no intention of covering the game because of its associations with J.K. Rowling, and how she funnels all of her Harry Potter money into transphobic hate campaigns. She's still doing that, by the way, she only gets worse every year. But here it was anyway, the brand using his clout and the cultural movement which he accidentally created as free marketing for the game. Tristan tries his best to avoid politics or controversy on the Can You Pet the Dog account. He's not an apolitical guy, but that's just not what he wants the account to be about. But controversy and politics are unavoidable, especially on Twitter and especially in the games industry. The games he chooses to cover and the games he chooses not to cover is a statement whether he wants it to be or not. But more importantly, the issue that Tristan himself usually brings up in interviews is the effect Can You Pet the Dog has had on the industry as a whole. That shift from extra treat to expected feature. If you asked me what the connection was between Can You Pet the Dog and union raids when I first began the account, I would have scratched my head. The issue of fair treatment in the workplace arose organically and, maybe inevitably, with the rise in the popularity of the account. After developers began adding pettable dogs to their games in response to my tweets, I began contemplating my complicity in crunch and unreasonably fast update schedules. When a pettable dog was added to Fortnite, I was faced with the very real possibility that my actions resulted in a person or persons staying late at work to add the feature, missing crucial time with family and friends. Is it hard to add a pettable dog to a game? It really depends on the game and the assets you're working with. Like anything in a game, the more complex a game already is, the harder it is to add more stuff to it. For a smaller indie game, it could be a half day to a day's work. For a massive AAA production, a pettable dog could legitimately be someone's full-time job for weeks. Is all that extra work worth it? Yeah, absolutely. Look at that pupper go. But the expectation of that work still changes the dynamics at play. If this is no longer a treat, something the developers add because they have extra time, and is instead something corporate expects to put in so that they get good boy points on Twitter, does it still have the same charm? Or does the hollowness start to shine through a bit? Do you start to see that maybe this isn't a dog, this is a collection of pixels and code designed to bark for your amusement? Maybe all of this is just a prime example of the vapid excess of modern game design. An industry driven by nothing more than an endless void of greed and money in which corporations treat even the most basic forms of entertainment as a commodity to be monetized and exploited. Fortnite has pettable pets, but you have to buy them first, same for Sea of Thieves. You can get all of the basic animals in your hideout in Assassin's Creed Shadows, but if you want any of the fancy ones, that's going to cost you extra. The most basic human emotion of finding small animals cute churned up by the corporate machine and spat back out to you at $10 a pop. This isn't a dog, this is a symbol of everything wrong with the games industry, everything wrong with the world. A fluffy symbol of the shallow consumerism that is destroying the entire entertainment industry and ruining an art form that I used to love. I, like a lot of people these days, seem to have a natural tendency to jump to the worst possible conclusion about anything. So let's take a step back and remember that we're talking about digital dogs. It's not that serious. Doomerism and catastrophization are dangerous thoughts for the world, but mostly for yourself. Yeah, maybe a $10 puppy in Assassin's Creed Shadows is a symbol of shallow consumerism, but it's also very cute. We can at least appreciate that the snow wolf is very cute, can't we, without making a whole thing of it? The internet seems to encourage this performative cynicism about absolutely everything. Oh, you enjoy petting digital dogs, do you? Have you considered that there's children in Africa starving while you enjoy your false lavish luxuries? Their blood is on your hands. Okay man, sure. I'm also guilty of this, that little voice in the back of your head that just has to make a thing out of everything.
Really? It's very difficult. What are you doing?
That voice isn't always wrong. There are stances worth taking and hills worth dying on, but I don't think pettable dogs in games is one of those hills. I think it's an interesting topic, the exact centre of the Venn diagram of all of my various interests, but I don't think it's important. And it fascinates me that some people, not a lot, but some people get so mad about this. If you've never been on r/dog-free, have a look sometimes, it's a wild time. Just because something has changed for the worse doesn't mean that you can't still enjoy it. Pettable dogs have become commercialised now, but that doesn't mean that they're not still cute and you shouldn't still pet them. Because a dog in a video game is never just a dog, it's the product of someone's work, care and attention. Someone made that dog so you could pet it, so when you see that dog, make sure you give it a pet. Unless the dog isn't pettable, in which case, throw that game in the garbage where it belongs. Thank you and good night.
Oh, keeping the peace, are you?
Thank you for watching, and a very... One sec. Thank you for watching, and a very special thank you to my wonderful patrons for your continued support. If you'd like to see your name up here, or just support the things that I do, then please consider signing up. It would mean a lot to me. As well as a like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for this guy in particular, right? If you want to see a video about an issue that actually matters, then here's a video I made about this wave of online censorship that's going on right now. Or for something different, here's a critique of Darksiders, which I'm beginning to work on, which you can find down here. Now, if you excuse me, I do have a dog to play with. Isn't that right? Come on. You have to give me the thing first, right? Because that's how this works for cat. No? Okay.